So what is going on, guys? I'm Black Ops Amazing. Welcome back to another video where today I wanted to talk about something I've been thinking about lately, and this thought wasn't really even to do with Call of Duty originally. It was about other games, because believe it or not, I do play other games. It was actually about Assassin's Creed because that's been added to the PlayStation, the new PlayStation Plus. So I've been playing through all of the older games again, the Ezio series, AC2, Brotherhood and Revelations, which brought back some great memories because I haven't played those games in such a long time since they were released. I must have been in my early teens then. I've played every single Assassin's Creed, and if you were to ask me what the best one was, I would always have told you AC2. That's without having played it since, was it 2009 when it came out? That to me was always the best one. Not to say that I don't like the route that Assassin's Creed has gone down now, I actually do, but that's more because I like the worlds we've gone to lately, Egypt, Greece, England. But getting back to what I was saying, having gone back and replayed those older games, it made me change my opinion. If I had to rank the Ezio games, I would put Brotherhood as the best, then AC2, then Rev. But the whole point I'm making is, back when these games were new or relevant, when the last one came out, which was Revelations, I was quite disappointed that the story for Ezio ended. His journey began in AC2. You could say technically AC1 because his story ties into Altair's, but these three games were really the only games in the Assassin's Creed series where we followed this one character for more than one game or more than two. And as we went from AC2 to Brotherhood to Revelations, the more games we got, the deeper of a connection to this character we got and his story, and to me that was really interesting. That's what I like about video games. I'm always more interested in the story than gameplay, 90% of the time anyway. So 11 years ago when his story ended in Revelations, I was not sad, not disappointed, they're the wrong words, but I was like, oh, that's a shame. I enjoyed that. I felt like it could have gone on longer. And having replayed them again over the past few weeks, I kind of got that same feeling, but it started to make me think, well, when is the right time to end a story? And that's very relevant when we come over to Call of Duty Zombies, something that a lot of you will be familiar with. We've had a couple of stories at this point, Ether and Chaos, that have both finished, and one of them specifically, Ether. Now and again, I do think it was kind of a shame that that story ended. I know in a way it's continued with the Dark Ether, but that story for what it was from World at War 2008 up until Black Ops 4 2019 when Tagdo Totem would have come out, that is a very long time to continue a storyline. It finished in that game, it ended, that was the end of Primus, Ultimus, Dr. Monty, the Shadow Man, a load of characters that we were familiar with, and in Black Ops Cold War, Treyarch started anew. Like I said, technically Dark Ether is a continuation, but it does for the most part feel like a brand new story, just with a few familiar characters like Richtofen, Samantha, characters that we know from the campaign like Weaver and Kravchenko, but it is new. And then the other story that Treyarch killed off was Chaos. This one was a little bit of a different situation because Chaos hadn't been going on for very long. It was a year actually. It started at the start of BO4 2018 and finished at the end or halfway through, so early 2019. It really wasn't very long when you think about it. And the big difference is Treyarch intentionally ended Ether, whereas they didn't with Chaos. That storyline was supposed to continue. That's very clear from what we saw in Ancient Evil, but it didn't for one reason or another. And now we have the Dark Ether story. How long will this one go on for? We know for certain it's going to continue in 2024, so we'll get at least one more game with it. But the Ether story went on for over 10 years. Can the Dark Ether story do that? That storyline had 4 games. So far Dark Ether has 1, but it will get 2, or it should do if Activision don't do a Chaos and cancel it. Were Treyarch right to kill off the Ether story? Should they have ended it sooner, say in BO3, or should it have continued on into Cold War? It's a difficult one and there's really no right answer because it's all opinion based and just depends on what you're looking for from a story, in the same way that we don't all like the same movies or TV shows. Some people can go all the way through a series from season 1, then season 2, 3, 4. Some people get bored after season 1 or halfway through and will stop watching. Some people will continue. So there really is no right answer on when a story should end, but there are some good points you can look at. The biggest one for me is always the general community's thoughts, not just a comment here and there, but the collective. A good way to gather that information is also through reviews, since everything's in one place, and I'm talking about audience reviews, not critics or professional reviewers, whatever that is. When has a story considered to have gone on for too long? When is it considered to have been cut off too early? One thing I think we can all agree on was that the Chaos story was cut off too early. Whether that was the right thing for them to do or not, from Activision's point of view, Probably because it was never going to be as successful as Ether or Dark Ether, just because a big part of that was down to the characters. For us though, I think it deserved a sequel. That's what we expected. Was it what I wanted really? No. But did it deserve it? Yes, just because of the way that it's ended now. I don't think you should ever leave a storyline on a cliffhanger. You should always conclude things, although there are a lot of movies and games that have done that will end series on a cliffhanger. Personally, I don't like when stories do that, because even though a lot of times it's then left up to your imagination, you end up saying, well, this must have happened. Sometimes it's obvious without them having to tell us, and still with Chaos, it was different because it wasn't really a cliffhanger. We knew what was going to happen next, we just never got to see it. So that was definitely a storyline that ended too early. Whether it was good or bad, it wasn't finished. And then of course, Ether. This story was a lot deeper than the Chaos one just because of how long it had been going on for. At the time when Treyarch ended it in TAG, I think that was the right thing to do. We'd pretty much seen everything from these set of characters, mainly being Richtof and Takeo, Nikolai and Dempsey, whether it be the Ultimus or Primus version. We were told that the main reason this story was over was because all of the problems that existed in this universe had been fixed. Everything was banished back to the Dark Ether. Primus and Ultimus ended up killing themselves. Samantha and Eddie then walked off into the light, into a new universe where they would be safe and could go on living normal lives. That would have been fine if that's what actually happened, but it didn't. We then got Cold War Zombies, where everything starts to unravel again. What was banished into the Dark Ether in Black Ops 4's ending then began to escape again in Cold War, kind of leaving me thinking, well, what was the point of Treyarch ending it? What was the point of Black Ops 4 Zombies? We were working towards something, that goal ultimately to give Samantha and Eddie a safe life. There was no more zombies, no more creatures of the Dark Ether, but then we have the next game, Cold War, and the zombies are back, Dark Ether creatures are back, and Samantha and Eddie are once again in danger. The whole reason that Primus and Ultimus died in Black Ops 4 was to save these children and give them a better tomorrow, but in the next game, they're now in danger again, kind of leaving me feel like, well, Primus and Ultimus dying was pointless, their sacrifice was worthless. And I do also sometimes think if you're going to end a story, do it properly. You have to commit, and that's not really what happened with the transition from Black Ops 4's ending to Cold War. But I still wouldn't change my original thought. It was the right decision to end this story in BO4. I do think Treyarch explored every option with those characters, but one idea I have had quite a few times as to how Treyarch could have continued the original storyline but kept it fresh was to still kill off the Primus and Ultimus characters, but still staying in that same universe allowed us to then follow the story of a new set of characters. I know a lot of people say it isn't the same without Primus and Ultimus, but we've had some great characters such as the Mob of the Dead cast, the Shadows of Evil characters. I would have been very happy if Treyarch then made one of those sets the main crew, whether it be Mob or the Call of the Dead cast say. I would have been very happy to follow their story then. And I do think that's one thing that's kind of missing from Zombies now in Cold War and Vanguard. In the next game, what Treyarch have to do, in my opinion, is give us a set cast and allow us to do what we did from World at War to Black Ops 4. Go through games building a connection with the same set of characters. It doesn't have to be Primus and Ultimus. They can create a brand new bunch, just like they did with Chaos, and stick with them. So Treyarch, I think, were right to end the Ether story, kill off these characters, even though there are directions I would have preferred them to take compared to what we actually got. I do think it was the right decision. That story wasn't cut off short. It wasn't super long where it dragged on. It ended just at the right time. And I can then link back to what I was saying in the beginning with Assassin's Creed. Having played that series again over the past few weeks, yes, it was quite sad and left me wanting more when Revelations came and they killed off the main character, killing off that story. 3 games in, it was also the right thing to do. I think they'd explored every option, and if it went on for any longer, there is the chance that it'd become uninteresting. And that's the same with Ether. I think Treyarch ended it at the right time. 5 games in, wasn't too short where I wanted more, but it wasn't also too long where it became uninteresting. So there we go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, hopefully you've enjoyed the video today. If you have, drop a like rating. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest videos on the channel. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, goodbye.